A warm Tuesday greeting to you, our global audience. It's always a pleasure to bring you the latest developments from in and around Namibia. I'm Selima Shimwefeleni Masipa. In our lead story, Chinese ambassador to Namibia, Zhao Weiping, has pledged China's strong support for the Namibian government in implementing the SWAPO Party's manifesto. Zhao made these remarks in the capital earlier today. Our journalist Linnea Dishena and camera operator Esther Gabriel filed this report.
China will provide strong support to the Namibian government's efforts in achieving the goals set up in the SWAPO Party Manifesto and Implementation Plan. We are now earnestly implementing the outcomes of 2024 Beijing Forecast Summit. Good progress has been made in pushing forward important major projects funded by the Chinese government, such as the police housing project, borehole drilling project, smart city pilot project, and social housing project. The first batch of Chinese food assistance, emergency food assistance, has arrived in Namibia in January and was distributed to the affected communities. The second batch will arrive soon. Meanwhile, we are also working hard to expand China's imports from Namibia. Early this month, Honorable Mr. Wang Lijun, Vice Minister of the General Administration of China Customs, visited Namibia and signed an MOU with the Namibia Revenue Agency to boost cooperation in custom cooperation and promote trade facilitation between our two countries. He also signed an agreement with the Honorable Minister of Agriculture, Fishery, Water and Land Reform on the inspection, quarantine and hygiene requirements for mutton and chevron to be exported from Namibia to China.
Moving on, Member of Parliament and former Executive Chairperson of the National Youth Council, Sharonese Bush, has called on youth leaders to prioritize the needs of the communities they serve above personal interests. Let's take a listen.
So when you are here, we must not think only of ourselves, we must think of those that have sent us here, that have entrusted us, and that have identified you as young leaders. And for me, a final and very important message is that when you're a youth leader, it is important to put those that you serve first and to always lead from the back. Sometimes we see that when we get into positions of power, when we are entrusted with responsibilities, we tend to flip the coin and only start doing things for ourselves. And when you lead, unfortunately, fellow young people, it is a great call of national duty that comes with a lot of sacrifice. And that sacrifice means sometimes losing friends along the way. Because when you are called to serve, it means that you must make decisions. And you must make decisions and hold yourself to a higher degree of discipline, self-respect, and being consistent.
Now for the latest on the Israel-Palestine conflict. The United Nations announced earlier today that it has received clearance to send approximately 100 aid trucks into the war-torn Gaza Strip as humanitarian assistance begins to trickle back into the territory. AFP has more on this report.
So, I think, of course, the UN welcomes that some aid comes in. But we all have raised constantly, it's a drop in the ocean, and absolutely insufficient. So that plan and to deliver food and other items across Gaza is grossly inadequate to meet the immediate needs of over 2 million people.
We have requested and received approval of more trucks to enter today. Many more than were approved yesterday. And we expect, of course, with that approval, many of them, hopefully all of them, to cross today to a point where they can be picked up and get further into the Gaza Strip for distribution. On your first one, around 100. Now, the next step is to collect them, and then they will be distributed through the existing system, the one that has proven itself, as we have mentioned, all of us, many times. And the way it's distributed is the humanitarian way based on need. Past experience has very clearly showed that the less aid you get in and the less there is properly distributed in Gaza, the more desperation rises. And that has several effects, predictable effects. One is that the insufficient supplies are at greater risk of being looted.
On to more international news. US President Donald Trump says he had a good talk with Russian President Vladimir Putin, adding that progress is being made towards achieving a ceasefire in the war between Russia and Ukraine. Trump spoke at the White House during a dinner of members of the board of the Kennedy Center, an arts venue in the US Capitol.
My little conversation with a nice gentleman named Vladimir Putin. But we had a good talk, and I think that progress is being made. 5,000 young soldiers are being killed every single week on average. And, I was talking to, as I said, President Putin for 2.5 hours. That was being very seriously listened to. We don't like what's happening. We don't like that we should have ever been involved. Would have never happened. But we're respected again as a country. One thing that...
Stay tuned for your top roundup, followed by the latest updates from the world of business. Leading this segment, the Ministry of Justice and Labor Relations today hosted an occupational safety and health validation workshop in the capital. Andreas Thomas attended the event and filed this report.
In taking cognizance of the link between occupational and psychosocial issues and their potential interaction at workplace, the bill includes the provision of employee wellness. This provides opportunity to ensure comprehensive approach in securing holistic workers' well-being, including mental health. And that's why I was greeting you 3 times, just to determine that we are really fine. Because that is what we are working towards, making sure that it's included in this bill. The integral managing of occupational and non-occupational psychosocial hazards enhance the reduction of work-related incidents by implementing responsive control mechanism. And I think Comrade Bunyaro have spoken of that as well. Director of Ceremony, the government of the Republic of Namibia recognizes the benefit of a safe and healthy working environment as an enhancer of performance, productivity, and the drive force of economic growth. And I think that's why the land always say a happy workforce, it's what? It's equal to productivity. It's a very productive workforce.
Turning to international business news. At the Cannes Film Festival, a film producer suggested that fears over newly imposed tariffs may have discouraged some buyers and filmmakers from attending this year's event. US President Donald Trump became a major talking point at the festival after announcing on May 5 his intention to impose 100% tariffs on movies produced in foreign lands.
So I don't see the foot traffic that you normally see, especially on a Saturday, even though I know it's early. Go back a year or 2 years, there was 5 times as many people in the morning. Now, overall, I would say it's probably 2/3 of the audience it was last year. So, when you're asking have the tariffs affected, I think it's the fear of those tariffs that maybe stops some buyers and filmmakers from showing up. Since that guy's name has come into the lexicon of the world, we haven't been able to sell to China, and they don't buy films from us anymore.
Yeah, for the foreign sales, yes, of course, it will affect, the selling of Chinese movies to American market, of course. That takes a courage because that would just refuse, sort of stop a lot of, foreign movies going to America. But I don't see a lot of foreign movies in America anyway, All we see is Hollywood movies, right?
I don't foresee the tariffs going into place. It would be, how would the tariffs work at this point? What are we tariffing? This is IP. Is it going to be on a part of a production that goes out? There's no precedent for how something like this would be tariffed. And so I think that if the tariffs were to go forward as conceptualized at the moment, not good for the industry. It just wouldn't be good for the industry. On the flip side of that, incentivizing in the right direction is positive for the industry.
Let's now turn to the weather desk for tomorrow's nationwide forecast. Welcome to Sport Planet, your go-to segment for all the latest in sporting action. We kick off the segment with Europa news. Manchester United and Tottenham will aim to salvage disastrous domestic seasons in Wednesday's Europa League final with the prize of a lucrative place in next season's Champions League as treasured as the trophy. Both clubs head to Bilbao for the final, assailed by stinging criticism amid their worst seasons of the Premier League era. United sit 16th and Tottenham are 1 point worse off in 17th with just one league game remaining. Only the struggles of related Ipswich and Leicester and Southampton saved United and Tottenham from an embarrassing battle to avoid crashing into the Championship. For the loser of the final, the hangover from this season threatens to be a long one, as the lack of European football will deal a monumental blow to their budgets going forward. Former United captain Gary Neville said he thinks it does not impact the next 2 or 3 years for both clubs, adding that they need investments into their teams if they do not get this Champions League's money, when there is going to be a lot less investment, which means they might not make the Champions League next season. On to more related football news. 3 Valencia fans were handed 8-month jail terms Monday for racist abuse towards Real Madrid star Vinicius Jr., a court said in what Spain's La Liga said was the first such conviction in Spain. The defendants, who were not identified, were convicted of an offense against moral integrity with the aggravating factor of racially motivated discrimination, the Valencia court said. They were also slapped with a 2-year match ban with no previous criminal record. None will serve jail time, as judges habitually suspended prison sentences for less than 2 years for first-time offenders. La Liga hailed the ruling as the first sentence handed down for racist insults in a Spanish football stadium. La Liga president Javier Tebas said this sentence is very good news, adding it sends a clear message to anyone who goes to a football stadium to hurl insults that La Liga will find and prosecute them, and they will face criminal consequences. The incident took place on 21 May 2023 when Real Madrid played away to Valencia at the Mestalla Stadium during a match which saw home fans hurling abuse and chanting monkey noises at the Brazilian forward. And with that, we wrap up for this evening. Thank you for joining me tonight on Primetime News. We'll be back again tomorrow, so be sure to join us again. Before I sign off, don't forget to follow the on-screen prompts to stay updated on the latest local, continental, and international news. We always welcome your thoughts, so feel free to interact with us in the comment section. From myself, Selima Shimwefeleni Masipa, and the entire production crew behind the scenes, it's good night.